How's it going, everybody? This podcast is brought to you by Rise Make Life Workout, a health, self-development, and lifestyle platform building a passionate community of knowledge seekers, creative dreamers, and future leaders.
For details on the latest Rise event that will feature expert speakers in the field of self-development and growth, check out www.rise-workout.com. That's
www.rise-workout.com. Enjoy the show. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the High Frequency Club podcast. My name is Marwin Solerio.
And I'm Sinead Bierman. We're here talking all things self-development, growth, and mindset.
In this week's episode, we have Jason Goodson, the founder of Backyard Roadies, a tour company created here in New Zealand and even during the COVID pandemic, which is absolutely crazy, hence why it's got so much value in it.
And awesome to hear how he wanted to create a road trip business that wasn't just focused on the usual partying and drinking that Kentuckies are known for, and yet wanted to focus more on that connection to yourself, with others, and with the land, which I think is really awesome, especially in the culture we're in here in New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, so Jason's got such a valuable winning mindset that a lot of us can benefit from. This is going to be such a good episode.
Yeah, huge takeout. So make sure you're following along at the High Frequency Club and subscribe along at YouTube, Spotify, and Apple.
Enjoy the show. Mean brother, thanks for coming through. I know, like I said, time is fucking precious for you. And when we caught up and connected, it was over, a 3-hour fucking time window with a beer, and I know we only got an hour. So, bro, I reckon let's just dive straight into it. Let people know who you are, what you do, where you come from, and all that shenanigans, bro.
Sweet, bro. Sweet. Well, I'm Jason Goodson, owner, managing director, CEO, founder, any cool name you can give it, of Backyard Roadies. And Backyard Roadies is the tour company. Do I look this way, or do I look at you?
Bro, you just have a conversation with us.
Anywhere?
Yeah.
Okay. Managing director of Backyard Roadies. So we're a tour company that specialise in the youth market. So ideally at the moment domestic, so 18 to 35 years old. And we do small group tours, so up to 12 people, 2 guides, 10 customers. We like to create an intimate experience and concentrate more on the connection side of things, less on the party side, but more on the wholesome connection side. So connection with yourself, connection with the land, connection with new people. So was a COVID baby, born in August 2020, launched in October 2020, and it's a dream come true, to be honest.
It's crazy, bro, that you created a travel experience company in COVID. Any other person would think, travel's dead. And it practically was dead. But you were like, no deal, I'm going to create this. What made you want to do that? Go against the grain and start something that was, would be seen almost impossible.
Yeah, hard out. So my background's in travel and tourism. So I normally work hard in the first world, whether in sales or recruitment, save money up, go overseas to Philippines or Thailand, and do a fun job. Whether it's running pub crawls, boat parties, emceeing, backpacker tours, anything tourism and hosting related, I loved. And it was paying not much money, but I just loved the experience of it. So for me, I was like saving all the time in the first world to go over to the third world to do a job that I loved. So when I came back to New Zealand and COVID hit, I was working in a corporate job, saving money to not be able to travel. And some of my investment plans overseas got on pause because of COVID. So at that point, I didn't know what to do anymore. I wanted to be happy again, which was do a hosting job or a tour guide role, but I couldn't because the borders were closed. And once I started working from home in a corporate role I hated, it just didn't make sense anymore. I didn't have the drive to move forward to keep working when I didn't have an end goal. So for me, I decided all right, I'm going to try apply for some roles with any tour company, whether it's Kontiki, whether it's Haka Tours, whether it's any of the tour companies. And all of them got back to me and kind of just laughed. And they were like, mate, you realize there's no tours running. You realize there's no tourists here. We've got no jobs. And I was like, oh, okay. So you're telling me I can't be a tour guide? And they were like, no. And I was like, great. You tell a young driven guy that, he's going to be like, I'm going to prove you wrong. So for me, I didn't let that stop me. Even though the odds were against me, there was no tourists. So running a tour company didn't sound ideal. But for me, that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't let anyone tell me otherwise. So I decided I'll create my own tours. And after some brainstorming and trying to realize, how I can find a niche, once I realized I was going to start a business in a very competitive market prior to COVID, I thought it was going to be great. You know, it's like going sailing and there's no other boats out there. So for me, I was like, sweet, full steam ahead. I got no competition. I got nothing to lose. Like, I literally had nothing to lose. So obviously no kids, no pets. I had no relationships. So I was like, sweet, I've got nothing to lose here. If all goes wrong, then I'll go back to my corporate job. Big deal. All I've lost is a bit of time, but I've gained experience, even if it didn't work out. So that was my drive. So I just went all in. Called up my best mate that worked in tourism, asked for a bit of ideas. He was like, yo, I'm keen. And I was like, are you real keen? He was like, yeah. So we just both went in, chucked some money in, and we ran our first tour in October. And ever since then, I quit my job. I got excited after the first tour. Quit my job. I was going to try to do the whole, like, you know, work full-time, then do after-hours work to start a business like everyone. But I just realized that I couldn't give all my energy to my full-time work. And I realized I'm going to this full-time work. I'm not actually there. I'm thinking about my business. So it was unfair on them. It was unfair on me because I'd rather be working on my business than full-time working. So then I decided to quit.
So did you make that decision, like you were working corporate one day and then it was over the next day?
Nah, so the decision was quite funny actually. I obviously, you know, really wanted to make that step, but I was trying to play it safe. I need income, I need to pay rent. You know, I put all my savings into the business, so now I've got zero. But I've got this income coming in, and we actually got asked to do all these interviews in 1 week. I think it was Radio New Zealand, News Talk ZB, and My FM. So the Radio New Zealand, News Talk ZB was pretty hype. Like, it was like very serious. I was like, oh, like, you know, this is I'm getting noticed here, and pretty nervous. Like, you know, I wasn't very professional with speaking about the business. I was real casual. So once I went onto My FM, I was like a little bit shy, you know, because like, one, I listen to these people every day. Two, like, you know, I've always dreamed about being on the radio, especially My FM. And three, after the interview, I kind of walked out of the interview and I was like, oh, I made it. You know, like, it was some real amazing feeling that, you know, I strive towards. And I'll never forget it, because I remember walking out of that interview and me and Isaac were like giggling and we were like, bro, we were just on My FM. And then I was like, I knew I was going to hear myself on the radio. So I knew my bosses were going to hear it, because I was on 3 radio stations. Surely they were going to find out. So I remember, because I was on my lunch break from work, so I kind of came out of work, took my suit off, chucked my Backyard Roadies shirt on, went into the interview, came out, chucked my suit back on, and went back to work. And on the way back to work, I remember listening to like, I was like hyped as, it was like a whole new feeling, man. It was like I was on drugs, and I was just like, oh my God, like, such an exciting feeling. And I chucked on Jaden Smith Icon in my headphones, and I was like in the Uber, like going back to work, like I'm an icon, like hyping up. And I walked in and I was like, I'm quitting. I was like, I can't go back into this job and pretend like nothing's happening. You know, to have to go back in from this exciting, I want to tell the world about my dreams, to I have to hide this for my job, you know? So when I walked in, I was like, I can't hide this excitement. So I just like walked in and I was like, where's my boss? I'm going to quit right here, right now. And he wasn't actually in that day. So I was like, all right, next person. I was like, manager. So I went into him, I was like, we need to chat. And he's like, well, this sounds serious. We went in and I told him what I was doing, and I told him the truth, and then I quit. And they were pretty like, you know, obviously they buzzed out about it. They were like, oh, you sure this is the right idea? It's tourism, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, you're crazy. I said, I know. I was like, I'm very crazy, and this is why I'm doing it. So yeah, when I quit, everything was full steam ahead from there. And I think that's when my life changed for the good. Yeah. So that was a really cool moment.
That's crazy. And was your idea behind Backyard Roadies, was it probably inspired from the previous work you had done in the third world countries, or did you want it to be a little bit different to other sort of Kentuckys and things like that? Yeah,
so the idea obviously came from just an idea of tourism at first. So I was like, I want to run tours again, whether it's backpacker tours, party tours, whatever at that point, because my only background was in partying, like party tours and that sort of area of hospitality. So at first I had the idea of a very similar structure to Kentucky, you know, big tours, you know, road trips, partying, all that, because that's what I knew. And then when I brought on Isaac London, who was one of my best mates, and he came on, he didn't drink at the time. He was going through a real cool healing journey, and he kind of brought in that wholesome intimacy and the more about connection. So he actually brought that idea into the business, whereas I had the hosting ability. So once we created this product together, he put his strengths in, I put my strengths in, and we created Backyard Roadies, which was definitely different and more niche than Kentucky or any of those big guys, because we wanted to create something different that would stand out when the borders open. So yeah, with his help, we created the product. And then the more we worked on it, the more we expanded on the idea of connection. And it kind of matched into the fact that we were in lockdowns, you know, people's anxiety was through the roof, social skills were lacking, you know, like people don't want to admit it, but we do want human connection. And if I can create a product or an experience that can give you a step forward to having that human connection and a real connection, not just like, you know, drinking friends or like meeting someone out, like proper, like, you know, going through challenges or going through traumatic experience, whether it's jumping off a bungee or, you know, things like that, you really connect with people. So when we saw the product and what happened after and the effects of people continuing to hang out, we were like, yeah, we're doing something right here. And we knew it wasn't for the money. Like, you see money at the end of the tours, whatever, but then you see the reviews and you see the smiling faces and the grateful people, you know, it's life-changing, and I think it's quite rewarding. So that's what set us to be different, but also that's what motivated me. Was I wanted that feeling back of creating memorable experiences for people. I think that's what I strived on when I wasn't earning much money in the Philippines, but I was earning that happiness, you know, and that rewarding feeling and that purpose. So I wanted to do that for my own people here in New Zealand, and in the future, obviously, international. So yeah, it was definitely a jump into a different direction, but a very rewarding direction, and a really great company to represent, especially with the New Zealand government. You know, they don't want to promote a binge drinking party tour, but they would love to promote a cultural connection aspect that's like, you know, they can be proud of, you know, representation of New Zealand. So for me, that's the angle we wanted to go down, and that's what we're being noticed for now. So yeah, it's really cool.
That's awesome, bro. Drinking is a huge part of the New Zealand culture, right?
Yeah, massive.
Huge, especially in the market that you're serving to.
Yeah.
What was that like in terms of, like, you know, having to set those boundaries? Because when 18 to 35-year-olds here, we're going road tripping, we're off to meet different people, on it till we vomit. You know, that's normally the first thing that we're all getting on it. It's a party, but it's not that for you. It's not that for Backyard Roadies. So how did you set those boundaries? What processes did you have to create? Was it in your terms and conditions from the get-go? Is it in your advertising? What is it?
I mean, at first, even when I was starting to set up the tour and I was going to new suppliers, you know, I was like this little brown boy rocking up on their door like, hey, I want to use your accommodation for my tours. And they were like, there's no tourist. I was like, yeah, it's going to be Kiwi tours. And they were like, how old? And I would tell them their age, and they would say, oh, yeah, nah. They're like, no, we want like people to stay, but like we don't really want, you know, 12 young Kiwis coming here. And I said, why? And they said, oh, you know, it's going to be a party, right? So for me, I had to prove to them that that wasn't the idea of it. And, you know, the first 1 or 2 tours, you know, we had to experience it. And I mean, the first tour was a party tour, and then we realized, okay, these aren't the tours we want to run. Me and Isaac felt like we were babysitting. There was dramas, there was binge drinking, there was injuries, there was all those things that I just couldn't be bothered dealing with. And all those other companies that want to deal with it, go for it. But for me, I realized that we're just feeding this insecurity and this anxiety and this like lack of confidence. We're feeding it with alcohol so that they can actually be themselves, which I get. But at the end of the day, the next day when they're hungover, they're shy again, you know, and they've got anxiety and they're panicking about the night before. So for us, if they want to drink, great. You know, we're all adults, we're over 18 years old, you're allowed to drink, sure. But for us, we don't push like the whole like, yeah, this is a party tour, we're going to get wrecked every night, we're going to bender, no sleep, this and that, we're going to sleep in all day. Like, you know, we ran one of those tours at first and people literally partied all night and they slept all day. And like for the cool stuff that was actually in the itinerary, they decided they wanted to stay in the car and put the aircon on and stay there. And we put up to a mean beach and I was like, all right guys, so let's go get the cricket set, rugby ball, let's go swimming, tanning. Everyone was like, oh no, let's just stay in the car. And me and Isaac were like, oh, we're going surfing then, you guys can stay here. And we just jumped out of the car and started surfing, and they realized, they're like, oh, actually we probably should get out there. And once we saw that drive, that these people still actually want to do things during the day, but some of them must have felt the peer pressure the night before to drink, we realized that we're creating an environment that wasn't for everyone. It was for a specific niche, which I don't really want to deal with, you know, like the likes of R&V and Northern Bass can have them once a year, but I want to run this consistently all year round. So yeah, we had to put in our terms and conditions. You know, I had to say the awkward thing at the beginning speech, like, hey, it's not a party tour. If you guys do have illegal drugs and you want to bender all night, I'll refund you right now and you just can go home, because that's not what we're about. And that was such an awkward thing to say. You know, it's like a taboo things to say. People were like, oh, that's weird. But like, you kind of look in faces and you see some people with relief. They're like, oh, thank God. You know, and you see that and you go, oh, that's important. And then you see the ones, you know, taking the piss and they're like, oh, and I'm just like, that's cool, man. Like, you don't have to come. You know, I'll refund you and you can go, because you're going to ruin it for everyone else. And you can do that with your mates. Like, you can easily get a vehicle, plan your own trip, and go on the piss for 6 days. Like, I don't care. But these people want an experience. They want to learn. They want to meet new people, and they want to genuinely connect again. And yeah, we have a few drinks. Don't get me wrong. You know, after a big day kayaking, a girl will have a glass of wine. I'll have a beer. You know, but that's just, you know, that's all good. But then having like a box of beer and half a bottle of vodka, then you're a different person. Yeah, you're more confident, but you're definitely going to hurt the next day. So for us, we want to create those connections with people that, you know, connect with people on a sober setting or sober-ish, and be able to do active adventures with them. You know, you go on a hike with someone for 3 hours, you're going to get to know them pretty well. You're going to want to go on a hike with them again. You get on the piss with someone for 5 hours, the next day you're going to go for breakfast with them, you know, are you going to go for a walk with them? Are you guys on that level? Even though the night before you're telling each other you love each other, then the next day you're like, oh, we're not really there yet, mate. And, you know, that's the sad part about our society and our generation, is that that's so normalized, is to go out and meet people out. You know, people say, go meet some people. Like, oh, meet people out. It's like, no, go meet them at a hiking club, go meet them at a surfing club, go meet them at a gym, you know, go meet them in a sober setting where you can connect on. I feel like alcohol can be a bonus in a friendship. You know, you connect with someone from a running club, or you connect with someone from a snowboarding day, and then after you're like, hey, do you want to go for a beer? And we can connect on that as a bonus, but then the next day we can go back to our wholesome setting. Whereas you do it the other way around, you meet someone out,
that's a
drinking,
foundation.
That's the only thing you can connect on.
I think that's, really, really want to highlight that. Because, you know, I've been privy to that, where there are some, you know, relationships based on alcohol for me. You know, and it feels like, oh, the only time we can really hang out or maybe enjoy each other's company is the thing that we are, you know, habituated to, which is a night out, you know. But you're right, I think doing things, finding friends outside of all of that, like with things, maybe your hobbies, you know, tennis or boxing or whatever it might be. Joining social clubs really helps break that chain, right?
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's just a deeper connection, I think, when you're connecting through, like you said, some sort of challenge or experience versus, like you said, on the beers, when it's just, you feel more confident and vulnerable in that situation because you're intoxicated. But like you said, if you then bump into each other in the shops the next day, it'll just be like, oh, hey, you know, it's not the same as if you have connected through, like you said, a big hike or something like that, where you're like, I see you, like we've been through shit together.
Exactly. And it's very common, when you know, you've been out with someone and you see them a couple of days later, you won't even say hi sometimes. You're going to be like, oh, I try to avoid them, and it's like, that's not what a relationship should be like, or a friendship should be like. But unfortunately, the alcohol brought out a different side of you and them, and then when you're actually normal, who you really are, you're shy of them. And what a waste of your energy, what a waste of their energy if it's never going to go anywhere. And then you bump into them again 3 weeks later and you're both wasted, and then straight back into it. Then you realize, oh, that's literally our friendship. So I think it's not long term, and it's hard to make friends these days because of that structure. So
bro, so how was your experience on because I'm sure being a tour guide overseas, and like you already said, it was a party you know, and I'm sure it would have been like a slow transition for you to get into the mindset that you have now with alcohol and socializing. What helped you, you know, get out of that party mindset? Because I'm sure I can vibe that you're a super charismatic guy, and when Jason turned up to a party, the good vibes are on. You're the person that lifted people up. Am I wrong?
That's the pressure I felt sometimes.
Right. So how did you transition out of that and to be able to be like, you know what, I can just have a beer today, or you know what, I can say no to these people today. You know, what was that transition like for you?
That was a big transition. I think growing up in New Zealand and especially in West Auckland, you know, we were drinking at a young age. You know, we were going to parties at like 15, 16, starting to drink alcohol, starting to experiment with other things. So for me, the drinking side was like an every weekend thing. You know, we go to school and then we do it, and then you start working full time, and then you work towards the weekend, right? And it's like your release. It's like your holiday. It's like what you work for is that weekend. So for me, that was what we did before I started traveling. Then I traveled, never knew I was a host, got a job as a pub crawl host, you know, quit my job, stayed there. And then I realized once I was working in that industry, I was like, oh, I can get paid for this. You know, like I can get paid to be myself and party and do everything I wanted to do at 19. At 19 years old, I wanted to party. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to party. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to travel. So I was doing that, and it started to get a little bit overboard because I was running 4 pub crawls a week that were nighttime and 2 boat parties during the day. So I was consistently drinking, which sounds great in some eyes for 2-3 weeks, but imagine doing it for 8 months.
Oh,
you know, you start to lose track of reality of when you're sober, when you're not. And there was moments where, and this was only when I was 19, 20s, when I would have a sober night in, and I would go to sleep, and I would dream that I was at the bar, and it was so vivid. And I had a whole night, like in my dream, like a whole night out. The next day I went to my homies on the beach, and I was like, yo, last night was sick. And they were like, no, bro, you weren't out. And I was like, yeah, I was. I was like, remember we did this, we did that. And they were like, no, dude, you definitely weren't out. And I was like, holy shit. And that's when I sort of realized I'm losing track of reality here, because my life revolves around drinking and partying now.
Wow.
I had nothing else going on in my life besides where the next bar was, what I was drinking that day, and who I was, you know, hanging out with. And when you don't have any other goals in place, then that's literally your priority. And when I did that for ages, I started to get depressed because I'd wake up thinking I was sober, but I was hungover, and then I didn't know what it was like to be sober anymore. So then I relied on alcohol to be normal. And then I realized, okay, I've got a drinking problem. And I had to admit it. And that's when I came home to New Zealand, came home for my 21st, had a break. But then I got itchy feet again, and I was in New Zealand, back to normal. Everyone was at uni, and I was still wanting to travel. I had all these stories. So continued traveling, went overseas, worked in Australia, went to Cambodia, did the Southeast Asia thing. And then when I was 24, I landed myself back in a backpacker tour guide role. And that was 19-day party tours. So, when people laugh at my tours and go, oh, it's not a party tour. I'm like, mate, I get it. It sounds funny, but have you done a party tour? Mm-hmm. I've been on tours with people supposed to do 19 days. They leave after 4 days crying and they go home. Mm-hmm. They literally fly back to England or wherever they came from because it's just too much for them. Or, me as a guide, you're pressured to go out every night with them. Lack of sleep, wake up early, organize the day, go back out. It's great. It's so much fun and I don't regret it. But at the end of the day, my liver was hurting. My mental health was hurting. It was everything was always so positive all the time. Everyone's on holiday, they're all on vacation, they love you, you're the guide, you have power, you have authority. That when you're alone after a tour and you have your off time, I needed to be around people again. I needed to get back to that that positive energy, that I'm the man energy. I needed that, so I would continue going out on my off days. I would go out partying again, and then again, it got worse. 19 days on, 10 days off, 8 of those days were partying. And I was back to where I was 4 years ago. And I was realizing, oh, no, I'm falling back into this trait again. So when I finished a year of that, I came home and I was like, all right, I need to kick back a bit. I need to get a real job. I need to get my career sorted. I need to stop traveling. Everyone now has kids and a career and houses, and I've just been pissing up the last 4 years. So I was like, all right, let's probably get serious. And when I did get serious, I realized it's not who I am. And I realized I've changed as a person, and that's the social society's told me to do that, but I don't want to do that. So when I created these new tours, I stopped drinking quite a bit. I wasn't drinking as much, and the energy around it was because I knew I've done all the drinking. I've done it all. I've done heaps. Not as much as you can do, but I've had a fair share, and for me, I didn't get FOMO anymore. Once I had the dream of Backyard Roadies and creating these tours to heal and to create experiences for people, the motivation for me to go out drinking to impress people, or to be that guy, or to be, oh, Jason's out, or this and that, or he's in the photos, or he's out, that all went out the window. Like it all went out the window because I was like, that's not who I want to be anymore, and I don't want to be known for that anymore. Like, you know, I had a couple of near-death experiences, and after that I was like, if I did whatever, if I died at that moment, would I have a legacy to leave, or would I just be that fun party boy Jace? And that's not helping anyone. That's not changing lives. You know, it might change someone's life for what, an hour when we're dancing, but like, nah, it's nothing long term. So I realized at that point, I was like, if I do leave this earth, I want to leave this earth with a positive legacy that's passed down to my kids. You know, I want to be able to be Googled. You know, I want to be able to have an award. You know, I want to actually have some achievements in life. And that's when I realized how my priorities needed to change. So alcohol and drinking and partying went down here. Being in the A group, being in the cool kids, all that just gone. Didn't even care anymore. And family, business, career, and relationships all went right to the top. And I think that's when everything changed for me. And that's when life got better.
Yeah, I think the big antidote to all of that, like what you said, and something that I'm experiencing myself personally, is having goals.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're not performing in whatever goal that you've set because you went out on a bender, then, because I've got on benders and then I'm not okay till Monday, maybe not till Wednesday. You know, so that means out of the 5 days that I'm meant to be at work, I'm actually really okay for maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So that means 50% of actually was a good life.
Yeah.
Less than that in a week, you know?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I actually created goals for myself that I was able to then reprioritize things.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, right? So just going back to what you were saying, you know, you found your passion, you knew what you were going to love, therefore you're able to reprioritize partying.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who is kind of lost and trying to look for something they, you know, love to do?
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously if you're wanting to make that transition and you're ready to try and find your passion and try to brainstorm it and try to figure out what the next step is, alcohol and going out is going to slow you down. It's going to slow your brain down. It's going to give you more anxiety to be more scared to go and do this. So if you stop drinking for a couple of weeks, you're going to get that brain fog's going to go. And you're going to be way more straight-headed and you're going to know what you want. And without the distraction of, you know, wasting that money, wasting that sleep, being hungover the next day, doing nothing, lying in bed, talking shit, like, that's just slowing you down. That's not even slowing you down, that's putting you on hold for longer and longer and longer. And unfortunately, some people can be productive while drinking every weekend, and that's great, good on them. But it's hard, you know, it's hard to be able to do that. So I feel like when you just go straight edge for a couple of weeks, and you don't have to label yourself as, I don't drink anymore, there's just, I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break from everyone, I'm taking a break from alcohol, and I just want to heal, and I want to just like self-learn, and I want to, you know, concentrate on myself for once and be selfish. You know, that's part of it. You need to be selfish in that journey. And everyone thinks that that's rude, but it's not, because at the end of the day, you know, sometimes you are your number one, and you have to prioritize that, because saying no is super important. And I think when I was going through that transition, and I had like, all right, brainstormed everything, was straight edge for a while, I was like, boom, this is what I want to do, this is my goal. And these are the things that will slow me down. And these are things that accelerate me. Like, you're right. Like, if you do a bender on a Friday night, Saturday night you keep going, Sunday you're wrecked, Monday you're wrecked, Tuesday you're coming back to normal a little bit, Wednesday you're there, Thursday you're back on. And like, it's just like, okay, for me, especially in tourism, and you probably as well, like, you know, we have to actually be client facing. So if I'm dusty as, anxiety's through the roof, have had no sleep, I'm ripping them off. You know, I'm ripping my customers off. They've come here to see 100% Jace. They've come here to be guided. For you, they've come to you know, go through a great personal training session, but you're not there. And they should get half price. And that's the reality of things. And if you can't accept that, and you say, oh no, they should still pay full price even though I'm not really here, like, well, that's bullshit.
Standards are
low.
low.
You know, I'd be upset if I was a customer and I went somewhere and the dude was hungover, didn't want to be there, and I felt he didn't want to be there. I don't want to be there now. You know, you're putting your last night's trauma onto me. Dude, I'm sober, positive, had my 2 coffees, I'm ready. And here you are like, oh, yeah, sleeper, like, we're going to go to like the beach. Like, you know, so for me, I felt like I was letting my customers down. I was letting myself down. And, you know, alcohol got in the way where I was letting my family down. You know, there were so many things that were in the way of my journey that I had to cut out, whether it was toxic friends, whether it was, you know, unsupportive people, and, you know, alcohol and drugs. And saying no is so important, whether it's just like saying no to that shot that you've been offered, even though you know you've got to drive and you've already had 1 beer. You know, it's like saying no to, hey, come come out tonight, even though you know you got work the next day. Or if you're self-employed, you know you got to do that stuff, but you go, oh, I can put it to the side. Or people are like, you're your own boss, just do it later. So, you make those decisions. And I think one of my favorite quotes I learned from someone is that, you are the director and main character of your movie, right? And I think it's super important because this is your movie, this is your life. So, you'll have co-main characters, which are family, partners, close friends. And then everyone else in your life is an extra. And, it's the funny part about it. You meet someone in a bar and drink for them for a couple hours, they're an extra. You hang out with someone for 4 weeks while traveling, they're an extra in your movie. You're the one that makes those decisions to direct your movie. They're in their own movie as well. So basically in my movie, if someone asks me, can you come out drinking tonight? I know that I've already directed myself to do an awesome thing the next day. Me agreeing to an extra doesn't happen in a movie. When does a director listen to an extra? Never. They just get paid, sit there and chill. But for them, me saying no to them, I feel bad. Oh, I'm letting them down. I'm going to ruin their night by not coming out with them. No, they don't mind. I'm just an extra in their movie. You're like, I just want to come. I'll ask the next guy. And I think it's that guilt that we feel and that pressure when at the end of the day, that person's not going to remember that at the end of their movie. And neither are the viewers. And neither are you. Like at the end of the movie, who remembers the extras? No one. Who remembers the main character? Everyone. Everyone is you. So I think what's important is being selfish in those moments, because at the end of the day, are you going to remember that person on your deathbed? Probably not. You're going to remember your co-main characters? Absolutely. They'll be at your wake. But at those moments, you need to think about what's best for you. And you might think of what's best for them, but at the end of the day, they don't really care as much as you think. So that's what helped me strive forward when I would say no to going out. And people would say to me, why you don't want to come out tonight? Oh, I've got things to do tomorrow. Like what? You don't work? Oh, you don't know. And I don't have to explain it. I just go, I'm not coming. Simple as that. And it was a big shock for people because I was always I was that guy being like, oh, come out. Yeah. We on, let's get it. Woo. And then to be the opposite, being like, no, I'm all good. They were like, oh, you've got a missus now. I'm like, no. They're like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know. I've got goals now, bro. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. So yeah, that was a big transition. And I still fall into it and fall out. I'm not perfect. I still go out and things, but
it's more intentional now. I
only go out for reasons.
You choose to do it rather than just you accidentally, bored or
you weren't planning on it.
You planned it ahead that you knew you were going to have a big night. And that's the difference there.
And that's such a great analogy, the movie analogy. And I think when I went through my phase of sort of no longer drinking, I think that was a big thing for me of when you had that peer pressure of, oh, come out, like, you're so fun though, like it won't be the same without you there, and
it's so intense.
And it was always just like you did feel like you're letting people down, but then I always just reminded myself, like, once they're 3, 4, 5 drinks in, they're not going to remember if you're there or not. And because it was the same on the nights when I would go out and then I would, like, everyone's getting a bit too messy and I'm like, I'm going to bail now at 11, like, even though everyone's like, oh, we're all going to the next spot, like, meet you then, I'd be like, yeah, see you there, but like, see ya, like, and that's what I mean, like, they never noticed because they were obviously so far gone that, like, the following morning they wake up and like, oh shit, what happened last night, where did you end up, and they don't remember anyway. So I always just told myself, like, they'll still have a fun night, they won't know that I'm there. So
super important, Good on you.
Yeah.
So Jason, bro, you've got this like relentless growth mindset. You created a business when travel was completely dead. You've gone on the self-development journey and completely changed the culture inside your own mind.
Yeah.
Where do you think this mindset comes from? Is it from your parents? Because I think it's in your blood. I think your sister won The Apprentice. So she's a hustler too.
Yeah.
Where do you think you guys get it from?
So I think we get it from our parents, I guess the way we grew up, my mum being Filipino, and my dad being a business owner. So dad's Kiwi, mum's Filo, and I think where we get the resilience and the hustle from is definitely from my mum, like growing up and seeing her. Well, my mum moved over here at 19, she married my dad in the Philippines, came over here, left her whole family and came over here to give her family a good life. And, just that, I was like, that is so motivational. Like, for you to go and leave this little province, poor town of yours, to go to New Zealand in the 1980s and to strive to give your kids and your family a better life and to know you're not going to see your family for like another 20, 30 years. That's insane. And that motivated us. And just seeing her grow up, and obviously they got divorced at it when I was like 10. And then my mum just grinded and hustled, and did everything for us. My mum doesn't drink or anything. So for her, she was always bubbly, sings in the choir. So she always had that drive to give us a better life. And then my dad always had that business mindset, but they're very safe mindset. Don't do risks, things like that. So, you know, they gave us the drive to know that we can do what we want. You know, like if you have a goal, go get it. They've never held us back from that. And I think the hustle straight up just came from, you know, me and Vanessa both, you know, we didn't go to uni. Vanessa dropped out early. I think I just finished year 13 just. And I think when she decided to chase her dreams, you know, I was watching it from afar and I was like, yeah, cool, Ness, you're doing great. And when I came home and she told me, when are you going to do it? I was like, I don't know if that's me. And she goes, yeah, it is. She goes, it's you. You just don't know when to do it or what to do. So she definitely motivated me to start Backyard Roadies. I remember she sat me down one day in a garage in Ranui. Shout out West Auckland. And yeah, she had a whiteboard up and I said, hey, I want to start these tours. And she goes, great, get the whiteboard up. Let's brainstorm. And I started writing what I wanted to do in this whole whiteboard. And I realized I was really enjoying it. And then I looked back and she goes, look at that. I was like, oh, that's buzzy. It's a whole bunch of words. And she was like, no, that's your business plan. And I was like, okay. And she was like, sweet, let's register the business. And you know, all it needed was a little push. And once she got me on the ball rolling, she exited out and I was just all full steam ahead. But like, yeah, the hustler, you know, it might be in our blood, but it's definitely in the circle around you. And having my sister, having my dad who's like, you know, run a few business, trying to put the food on the table, having my mum who's just grinding, you know, like doing things from cleaning houses, you know, cleaning rest homes, doing elderly homes. Like she would just do anything to just support us, to make sure we had a better life than her. And I think that's what motivated me to be able to give back to her. And, you know, most of my motivation is, you know, before I started the business, I bought property in the Philippines so that I could, you know, build my mum a house so she could finally go home. Because she's been here for so long grinding for us. And now that we're all good, I wanted her to go home now. So for us, like, it's giving back. That's where the motivation comes from. It's making them proud. At the same time, it's just having the right people around you and believing in yourself. You know, I had to cut friends out that were like, oh, nah, bro, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. And I was like, mate, you're not a friend. Like, why would you say that? And they're like, oh, I'm just worried for you. I get it, but like,
fuck you.
You don't, you know, like I'm an adult. I got this, you know, and you need to have more faith. So yeah, we're definitely hustlers by blood. She's doing great. And yeah, when we're together, it's so much energy. Like we just bounce ideas off each other. And when she won The Apprentice, you know, they asked, you know, should I go on the next one? And I was like, oh, you know, I felt ready, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to go straight after her because, you know, will they let me win? I don't know. Will I win? Yes, obviously. But yeah, she's definitely doing great, and so am I, and we strive off each other. And we have another sibling. We have a little sister who's full fellow. And yeah, she's going to be the first one to go to uni, we think.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, you're so right, bro. If there's anyone listening that feels lost or knows what they want to do but doesn't know where to start, the best place is to find a circle that is already doing it, and you will naturally adapt and raise your standards to those people because they've got the experience, right? And the other testament that I really resonate with is that immigrant mentality. Yeah, because you're right, bro. I'm a Filipino as well. My parents moved here in 1998, and I've always been super aware of the fact that they sacrificed so much for us to be here. I could be in the Philippines, you know, but the fact that I know that there is a huge opportunity in being here is that every day I try to remind myself, just like you, that like so much has happened for me to have this opportunity. I got to make the most out of it. Yeah, you know,
you have to, eh?
Absolutely.
And then you look at your cousins
why not, bro?
And you're like, oh.
Why not? Because why not? What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah,
why would you not? Why would you not? Yeah, bro. As we start to really wrap this up, you know, where can people find Backyard Roadies? What's the deal? What's the packages that you've got on? What can people look forward to, and when can people find you?
What's coming up?
What's next,
What's on the cards?
So Backyard Roadies, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Go visit our website, www.backyardroadies.com. We are coming up to do our 25th tour in 18 months, so super exciting. We obviously started off last summer with the 4-day Far North tour, which we did 11 of. We kicked off the 10-day South Island tour last winter. Supposed to do 7, we only got 3 done. The second lockdown hit. And then this summer, I kicked off tours every week. So we launched the Enable Tasman tour, 4 days, a 4-day Far North tour again, doing them every week until Omicron hit. So it's been a journey, but there's so much more to come. And I think someone asked me, what's next for Backyard Roadies? And I told them, oh, we'll take it country by country.
Let's go.
So for me, you know, we're discovering areas in New Zealand. You know, I've got the top of New Zealand down. I've got the top of the South Island down. I've got the central South Island down. We're about to launch the North Island Central tour soon. We're about to combine them into a 24-day tour.
Wow.
And, you know, the borders are opening in a couple of weeks. So the news came out today. So I planned for October. Now I'm going to bring it all forward. So for us, you know, I've got 4 staff on. I want to grow to more. And yeah, we want to run as many tours as possible. And hopefully with New Zealand down packed, and once we have the ball rolling there, then we'll go over the ditch and we'll do some Australian backyard roadies and then see what happens from there. Southeast Asia, Europe, you know, the world's my oyster now, and I'm just going to go for it. And there's nothing holding me back. You know, I'm young, I'm driven, I've got a good team under me. We don't have corporate backing. I've got no decision makers on top of me. So whatever I want to do, I'll go do. And yeah, New Zealand's first, then Aussie, and then we'll see what happens.
Amazing, bro.
Yeah.
Amazing. And we love to leave our listeners with, you know, practical advice to help them on their own, you know, self-development journey or wherever they are. Maybe it's healing, maybe it's fitness.
Yeah.
What's a piece of practical advice that you would leave our listeners, bro, that'll help them?
I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with being employed. There's nothing wrong with full-time working. A lot of people are working to save towards something, which is great. If you're ready to make that transition, looking for a bit more purpose in your life, my idea is to start now. I mean, start now. If you don't start now, someone else might do it. Then you'll be gutted. Then you'll be back to square one. I think start now, start planning, start moving towards it, start brainstorming, launch when you're ready, and then let everything else happen naturally. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be dramas. There's going to be errors. And there's going to be wins. And when you have those wins, it's going to remind you of what feels better, growing your own baby or hitting a KPI for another business, you know, or hitting a target. So for me, I think when you start moving towards that, you start understanding yourself and your strengths, and there's more to you than you think. And I think that's the most important thing, is that there is more to you than the 40 hours you put in that week to someone else's business. You also have more time than you realize. So you put all your hours together, you can work on your side hustle all the time. You can go to the gym after work. You can meditate in the morning. You can wake up at 5 in the morning and do this. Don't make excuses. Start now, and everything will pay off. 18 months ago, this was just an idea in my head. And yeah, now I run the business of my dreams. So it's all about hustle, hard work, and self-confidence.
You heard it right here, people.
Love that.
Jason from Backyard Roadies, everyone. Thank you very much.